At what point did that word go through your head, my son's been kidnapped?
It's tough for even me to think Bruna had kidnapped our own child. Are you gonna eat the camera?
It was almost impossible to say out loud. David Goldman's wife, Bruna, had not only left him, she'd taken their son.
You ran off to Brazil with Sean.
I ran off to Brazil with Sean because if I was there and I told you that I want to separate, I knew you were never going to give me the separation. That's why.
Bruna got a Brazilian judge to give her temporary custody of Sean. Furious, David filed a civil suit in New Jersey and got this order demanding Sean be returned to the U.S. within 48 hours. But Bruna just ignored it. And then, David says, the death threat started.
So it was a man's voice telling me that they know where I live, they know where I am, prepare to die. It was very alarming, very alarming.
Terrified, David contacted the FBI, which advised him to leave his house for a week. By the time he returned, the calls had stopped. You never found out who made those calls?
No, but they were using my Nextel Direct Connect, which only Bruna had the number.
David, I bet there are people who watch this interview and say, there's got to be something he's not saying. There's got to be some skeleton in that closet. There's got to be a reason why this woman would go to Brazil, take her child, your child, and turn around and call you and say, you're out of my life.
Show me. Find it.
Even from Brazil, Bruna continued to tell David he was a great dad.
You're a wonderful dad, and I couldn't have anyone better.
16 months after Bruna left with Sean, David made his first trip to Brazil in hopes of bringing his son home. But in one of what would be many legal setbacks, a Brazilian court gave Bruna permanent custody of Sean, saying he should stay with his mother. Things spiraled out of David's control. For 2 years, his attorneys filed appeals, as a heartbroken dad missed out on his son's birthdays, his milestones, his sweet smiles and embraces. But each decision was in Bruna's favor.
It's shocking, really.
Mark DeAngelis met David on a fishing trip just weeks after Bruna left. Touched by his story, Mark became a staunch ally, researching the Brazilian legal system.
One unfavorable ruling after another, one unfavorable outcome after another, almost as if the Brazilian judicial process seemed to work backwards.
To make matters worse, David says Bruna and her family cut off all contact with him.
Hello. Hello. That was my father-in-law. Hung up on me, too.
Then, even though Bruna was still legally married in the U.S., she got a Brazilian divorce. And 3 years after leaving David, she married a Brazilian lawyer named João Paulo Lindsay Silva, who ironically, along with his father, specializes in family law.
Their practice is fighting against international child abduction. His father travels around to different countries lecturing on the Hague Convention and children's rights. You can't make this up.
And in August 2008, things took yet another turn, this one startling and tragic.
Jaw dropped to the ground, and I thought, oh my God, I can't believe it.
Bruna was dead. Pregnant by her Brazilian husband, she'd given birth to a baby girl, only to die from complications 8 hours later. She was 34. David's first thought was of his little boy.
My poor son. He just lost his mom. I need to see him. He needs to see me.
Shaken, David immediately called both his U.S. and Brazilian attorneys.
Both of them said, it's over. You should be able to go down there and bring him home.
Because you're the only biological parent left?
Yes, who's been fighting for this long.
We're done. We're done. We have to be done, because at that point, a fit biological parent always trumps a third party.
David rushed to Brazil, but when he arrived, more crushing news. Bruna's new husband had already filed for custody of Sean. What's more, he was trying to remove David's name from his own son's birth certificate.
This guy wanted to erase me from any connection with my son and put his own name on it.
Sean's Brazilian family, including Bruna's mother, argued that since the now 8-year-old boy had been living in Brazil for 4 years, half his life, he belonged with them. David was livid. He spoke out on NBC's Today Show.
How can it be possible a non-blood relative, a non-blood person could take my child? I hope I'll be able to see my son.
Within weeks, David got his first glimmer of hope. As long as he was willing to come to Brazil, he could visit his son on weekends.
Senhoras e senhores.
Dateline took David to Brazil on what was now his 10th flight there since last seeing Sean.
Just so tired. Mentally, physically.
But after an agonizing 3-hour wait outside Sean's Brazilian home, David was defeated again. His son wasn't even there.
No one knows where he is. They just know he left yesterday. Lindsay Silva took Sean and left. And I get screwed around again.
On top of that, the Lindsay Silvas hit David with a lawsuit, accusing him of damaging their family name. They also filed a complaint that, among other things, accused him of harassing them with a helicopter.
He's accusing me of hiring a helicopter and circling over his house to harass him or something. I mean, it's absurd.
David's fight was about to become more contentious than ever, with a little boy caught in the crosshairs. Coming up, a fight between two families, now a battle between two nations. Can political pressure bring about, at long last, a father and son reunion?
I'm going to lay my eyes upon my son and try to do whatever I can to keep it together.
When Dateline continues.